and innovation markets in the United States. We have particular expertise in developing corporate headquarters campuses for technology companies. One of our recent projects is pictured on the page here and will look familiar as it's also a project located in Santa Clara. This is the campus at 3333, located near Santa Clara Square. And the buildings pictured are part of a broader 30-acre site that we developed, totaling 1.6 million square feet across 8 buildings. The project was completed in 2017, and the buildings you see here on this slide continue to serve as Palo Alto Networks' headquarters campus in Santa Clara. Our project team for 2901 Tasman, which is the subject of our meeting tonight, is largely similar and consistent with that for the Palo Alto Networks headquarters campus, with RMW Architecture as our architect and DevCon Construction as our general contractor. Here is an overview of our 10-acre site at 2901 Tasman Drive. Existing on the site today are 4 two-story office buildings that were developed in 1980. We often describe the site as a full city block because it is bordered on all sides with streets. We have Great America Parkway to the east, Tasman Drive to the south, Old Ironsides to the west, and Bunker Hill to the north. No part of this block is shared with another tenant, landlord, or neighbor, which makes this site truly unique and the right candidate for a corporate office campus for a single tenant user. Corporations today are looking for sites where they can have full control and curate their own company culture, develop a strong brand and identity, and properly secure in compliance with their security requirements and protocols. This site offers all of that and more, as we'll discuss throughout the presentation today. Another key advantage of this site that is highlighted here in this aerial image is the VTA light rail Old Ironside stations on Tasman Drive, in addition to the VTA bus stop, which provide alternative modes of transportation for the future occupants of our project. Here is a more zoomed out aerial view of our site, shown in red, and here we are showing its context in relation to the 237 to the north, Levi's Stadium just to the east, the approved related Santa Clara development to the northeast, the proposed Mission Point by Kylie project to the south, and California's Great America to the southeast. The Santa Clara Convention Center, along with the Hyatt and Hilton hotels, are located across the street from our site along Great America Parkway. Our proposed project requires a general plan amendment from low-intensity office to high-intensity office, and our proposed plans for the site for high-intensity office are consistent with the goals and objectives set forth in the general plan. The general plan promotes the redevelopment of existing sites for new, higher-density uses, since there is virtually no vacant land available to develop in Santa Clara. The general plan sets forth a focus on intensified employment centers north of the Caltrain corridor without impacting the city's existing residential and industrial character. Our proposed project complies with this focus. The proposed use, size, and scale of our project is also in line with the objectives set forth in the City North Vision Plan. We contribute to a balance of land uses together with Tasman East and the future related and Kylie developments, as we will provide a workplace environment within immediate proximity to future housing and retail services at related, Kylie, and Tasman East. We fulfill the goal of maintaining office and commercial uses along Great America Parkway, and at 12 stories high, we are at the mid-range of building heights sought after for this area. We minimize traffic impacts by promoting all different modes of transportation, including walking, cycling, driving, and public transit. And the design of our project activates the sidewalks along Tasman and Great America, creating a more walkable and inviting streetscape to pedestrians. Lastly, our proposed project will provide community amenities and services. The parking structure on our site will accommodate parking for events at Levi's Stadium, and with a 1 million square foot footprint, the future occupant of our proposed single tenant campus will be a positive contributor to the broader city of Santa Clara. Together with related Santa Clara, Tasman East, and Kylie's Mission Point, we see our project contributing towards a healthy ecosystem of new development in North Santa Clara. Each project serves a different use and need while supporting one another. There are 4,500 residential units underway at Tasman East, and across 240 acres, related Santa Clara will deliver an additional 1,680 residential units, along with hotels, retail, dining, and entertainment amenities, and over 5 million square feet of office space that will be catered towards multi-tenant uses. The vision for related Santa Clara is to create a Santana Row type vibrant development for the area that is highly activated and energized with a host of varied tenants and uses that draw visitors to the area. And the related site, together with Tasman East, has the scale to accomplish just that. Kylie's Mission Point is another multi-use project that is proposed just south of our site and will be home to a new multi-tenant office and lab space, residential housing, retail, and park space. We see their project as a complementary use that will work in harmony with ours and the other projects east of Great America Parkway to create a vibrant North Santa Clara. This brings us next to our proposed project at 2901 Tasman Drive. And I want to state here, as you have questions, if you could enter them into the chat. At the end of the presentation, we'll host a Q&A and answer questions that are submitted through the chat. So as shown in the illustrated site plan here, our project includes two interconnected 12-story buildings along Tasman and Great America, an 8-story parking structure along Bunker Hill and Old Ironsides, an attached 2-story amenities building, and an interior courtyard programmed with an amphitheater, outdoor meeting spaces, walking trails, and barbecue areas. The office buildings total 1 million square feet, and we have designed the project to 1 million square feet as we are looking to accommodate a headquarters location for a leading technology company. In the Silicon Valley market, we see a pattern of technology companies consolidating into a single location once they reach around 400 to 600,000 square feet across multiple locations. A 1 million square foot campus accommodates this type of company's existing space requirements while also providing the opportunity for future growth, which companies look for when creating a consolidation plan. Additionally, the campus environment we have designed for this site, which includes space for outdoor recreation and meetings, fitness, cafeterias, and other on-site amenities, are critical for creating company culture, attracting talent, and facilitating use of mass transit and other traffic reduction measures, which benefits the broader Santa Clara community. Our proposed project is differentiated from others in North Santa Clara as it provides a standalone campus environment for a single tenant headquarters, whereas the surrounding projects are geared towards multi-tenant uses. However, our project and the others will work in tandem with one another. The future occupants of our building can live in the new housing that's currently underway and walk or bike to work. The future occupants of our building will also utilize the retail, dining, hotel, and entertainment amenities of the nearby sites, which will contribute to the future vibrancy of North Santa Clara. Here is the view of our proposed 12-story project from the corner of Tasman and Great America. We celebrate the gateway nature of this heavily trafficked intersection by bumping out the building facades at the corner here to create some visual interest. We also set back the first floor from the street in order to facilitate a welcoming and activated pedestrian experience. The two buildings are interconnected with a sky bridge starting on the 4th floor in order to provide a grand pedestrian entrance to the campus from Tasman Drive and promote the use of the VTA light rail and the walkability to the future retail at related Santa Clara and Kylie's Mission Point. Ample outdoor workspaces are provided through the balconies and the rooftop terrace. Here is a close look at the interior courtyard of the campus, fully enclosed by the office buildings, the 2-story amenity building, and the parking structure. In this view is the amphitheater on the leftmost side of the page, large enough to host company all-hands meetings and events. The landscaping and site plan is designed in order to create protected outdoor work and eating areas, complete with barbecues and soft seating. Here is another view of the interior courtyard with the amenity building more in view. The amenities buildings provides a point of connection from the two buildings to the parking structure and is designed to accommodate an on-site fitness center, tenant cafeteria, and conference space for the future tenant. The amenities building will feature a rooftop park and recreation space as shown in the foreground of the image here, complete with sport courts and lawns for yoga and other fitness uses. And here's a view of the interior courtyard again, but this time from the perspective of a balcony from the building along Great America Parkway. As you can see in this image, we will be softening the views of the parking structure with green walls and plantings. Softened views of the parking structure from the street will also be provided with trees and green screens. The rooftop terrace provides sweeping views to the south and east towards Levi Stadium. We were intentional with the placement and positioning of the rooftop terrace in order for it to be protected from wind, making it a viable outdoor meeting and event space. And this is the main entrance to the campus from Tasman Drive. There will be a large feature wall with media screens that can be used by the future occupant as well as the city of Santa Clara for news postings, transit schedules, and live feed updates from events at Levi Stadium, just to name a few examples. Here you can see more of the building set back at grade in order to activate the pedestrian experience at the corner of Tasman and Great America. This is the corner of the site along Great America and Bunker Hill. The section of the parking structure on this corner will be utilized as parking for events at Levi Stadium. There is a dedicated public elevator and stair tower that provides pedestrian access to the street. From there, someone can walk to Levi's or to the future amenities at Related Santa Clara. The public elevator and stair tower in the parking structure is shown here. The sidewalk along Great America will feature landscaping and breakout seating areas that will make it an inviting place for pedestrians to walk and congregate. In summary, we have designed our proposed project to be in keeping with the city's goals and objectives as set forth in the general plan. The project capitalizes on the unique nature of the site that perfectly caters to the needs of a tech company seeking a standalone headquarters campus environment. We have differentiated ourselves from other projects nearby by designing for a single tenant user instead of multiple tenants. We celebrate the heavily trafficked intersection at Tasman and Great America through the articulated design of the building on this corner and by activating the street level pedestrian experience. Our site will continue to provide parking for events at Levi Stadium as we have designed the parking structure in a way that accommodates the public's use after hours. Our project was also designed with transit in mind. A higher density office project is most appropriate for sites near mass transit, which characterizes our site with the VTA station located just outside of its front doors. The future occupant at the building will be required to see through a transportation demand management plan to reduce cars on the road and provide incentives for their employees to use alternative modes of transportation, including mass transit, walking, cycling, and carpooling. Dining, fitness, and other employee services will be provided on site, which will keep the building occupants off the roads throughout the day. Employees will be encouraged to walk to the future amenities at Related Santa Clara and Kylie's Mission Point. And lastly, the project has been designed to LEED Gold standards and will provide union wage construction jobs to the local area. So that concludes our presentation, and I'll turn it over to Jane. I'm not sure if any comments have come through yet in the chat.
They have. So can you go back to the surrounding projects page?
Yes.
So Edward Shrine posted a couple of comments. And they're largely about retail, and I want to give the bigger picture of that. Yes, yeah, so uh, related project in Santa Clara was approved a few years ago. And their whole premise is, yes, they have office, but their office is designed where, a company will be one of the tenants. They have residential. And if you add their residential 1,600 units with the 4,500 units that are in Tasman East, which is to the east of Related, what that does is provide support for a retail. I'm sure the city of Santa Clara would like to see something like Santana Row. We think that's a great idea. You can easily walk from our site to their retail, their restaurants, their entertainment. So as a result of that, we don't want to put, like you mentioned, Trader Joe's. Well, Trader Joe's needs to be surrounded by residential. So a Trader Joe's makes sense on Related site where you have all the residential going in on Tasman East and all the residential going in on Related's project. If we add retail that competes with their retail, all we're going to do is denigrate the retail on both of our sites. We'd like to see them have a thriving, concentrated retail center that is a go-to and a magnet for the city. We do not want to do anything that detracts from that. The way we looked at our project is, if let's say you want 800, 900 or 1,000,000 square feet, and you want your own campus. If you go to Related's project, you're just going to be one of the people on their campus. You're going to be in a multi-tenant situation. There are plenty of companies who love that, but there are companies who want to have their own campus and control it. So we were trying to design something that allowed us to provide an alternative to what Related was providing, but not compete in any way that would thwart their success. We think what they're doing there is terrific for the city. The city needs, not necessarily a downtown, I would call it, but a lot of people are seeing it that way. And, having recently been at Santana Row, I have to say it's thriving. I mean, it's just a buzz when you're there. So we'd like to see that continue. So that sort of addresses why we haven't done retail. Kylie, to the south of us, is putting what I call retail that maybe serves their people. They do have residential on site, so they'll have retail that's related to that. We are not looking to do retail on our site. Basically, we do not want to take away from the success of Related. And I'm sure everybody is familiar with what's happening in the retail market. People are buying online. So, you used to see, the Gap or whatever, 400 different locations, and now they're very limited. So there is a real problem with trying to spread retail all over the place, and then there's no successful spot. In terms of, so I think, I've addressed your questions, Edward, with regard to why we wouldn't have a Trader Joe's and why we wouldn't have retail. Fitness on our site, we will likely have fitness and cafeteria. It will more than likely be for the employees only. Again, if you're going to do a public, nice fitness center, you need to have it within walking distance of Tasman East. On the Related side, or even Kylie's, if they put it on the south end, they have residential. Patrick Henry specific plan is south of there, and that is zoned for residential. Putting a fitness that's open to the public in the middle of our site, we're making people walk a lot further or drive over, which we don't want to do. We want to create a walkable situation here in North Santa Clara. In terms of update on when Related will start, we try and track that, but right now we don't have any vision on when they're going to start. Related is still committed to the area. I'm sure most people know that they are building residential on Tasman East right now. So I think they are waiting until the office market stabilizes a little bit and the retail market gets a little firmer. So we would anticipate seeing activity from them in the next, it may take 2 or 3 years. They have invested a tremendous amount of money, so they're not walking away from this. It's only a matter of when. Um, Someone had asked about public sidewalks. We have public sidewalks on all 4 sides. You asked about the north and west sides. Yes, because if you've ever gone to anything at Levi Stadium, you need sidewalks on all 4 sides. It's not apparent there in that rendering, but where we have the green, there's a sidewalk that goes the whole way in there, and it's there. It's just not shown very definitively. We have also taken the little cutout where we have that blue arrow, is meant to, as people are walking to Levi Stadium, that's a spot for someone to say, hey, I'll meet you there. And then we have an extra wide sidewalk in front of Tasman. If we can go and show the screen we have on Tasman. Yes, so we intend, like, if there's a football game or some activity at Levi Stadium, we intend to be broadcasting that on the wall there. So let's say you're waiting for somebody to get off the train to walk to the stadium with you. You can sort of see what's happening in the pre-game programming. So that media wall is meant to be community. If the city needs something, the stadium advertise theirs, have the company who occupies this building. It can also facilitate TBM by at the end of the day, putting train schedules, saying trains delayed or train, whatever issues are with transit. So we really see that as a community friendly area to stop and wait while you're meeting somebody. The bus stops will be upgraded. So we have currently have the bus stop along the side. We did update that bus stop when we remodeled these 2 buildings, but as you can see from our rendering, what we've done, I don't think maybe Jan or Steve can weigh in, but I think what we've done with regard to the bus stop here is upgraded the area surrounding the bus stop to make it a more pleasant place to wait for the bus. The actual bus stop has been upgraded, I would say, within the last 5 to 10 years. But I can't tell you whether the VTA has requested further upgrades because their standards change. Maybe Amber or Namisha can weigh in on that.
Yeah, and just to chime in, you're right. So, the intent is to, make improvements and access to the bus stop, improvements to what's there and the access to the bus stop, existing bus stop that's there.
So next, I'll move on. Someone asked about replacing the existing trees. Okay, so we've really done our level best to keep those street trees. The reason is they are very large, and we especially wanted to keep them along the side of the garage. We think having a green frontage on the north and west side is a great look. We've worked with the fire department, who doesn't like to have their fire truck ladder lean over beyond the trees to get to the garage, but I think we've come up with a great solution that keeps just about all of those trees that we're showing in this rendering. All of them on the north side and most of them on the west side. Again, Steve, you can weigh in on your opinion on that.
No, that's spot on. I think we've got about a half dozen on Old Ironsides, fully grown mature trees, and I think a dozen. So I think there's 18-ish in all. And Jane, to your point, we went through a lot of effort with the city, a lot of collaboration with all the departments to make sure that we can maintain those. And so we've done that successfully, and we're proud of that.
So, Betsy, you had also asked about becoming greenhouses because we have a lot of glass. So let's go to the rendering. That's always a challenge because tenants want that openness, and frankly, with COVID, there's even a bigger push for openness. So you feel like you've got the outside while you're inside. And we've not, the glass, having a lot of glass creates that, plus we have a lot of outdoor space. And usable outdoor space in terms of usable for meetings, but more importantly, we look at how the wind impacts our outdoor space so that you can actually use it versus just put it up there and then the tenant goes out there and finds out it's way too cold, way too windy, and the space isn't viable. In terms of the controlling the air conditioning, fortunately, as time moves on, glazing gets better and better. The color of the glazing matters. We look at that. Plus, we also look at where is the sun impacting our building the most and what we can do to design around that. Again, I'll let Steve weigh in on that.
No, that's right. So, on all points, what we've done is evaluate glass options and opportunities, trying to find the right balance between, minimizing reflectivity of the glass, but also, this solar heat gain coefficient. So again, a lot of effort and thought has been put into this, along with the mechanical system and efficiency of those two together to maximize the energy performance of the building.
You ask about the street lights. I was just reading what the city calls our conditions of approval, and there is a requirement for us to replace the street lights. So we will be upgrading them, and of course they will be LED. And in terms of the design, that will have to be signed off by Public Works. But the current design, I'm sure, is what's out there now is older and not as attractive. But we're open to having something that's more modern, maybe having something that is consistent with what the city has in North Santa Clara. So that they will be upgraded. The exact design of them will depend upon what the city wants, whether they have a standard they want us to comply with. So bird safe design, we've done this multiple times. So we will look at there are consultants who look at the bird population and the tendency for them to be in the area that your project is. It depends on how they're migrating. This area, given our site, is largely paved over, and most of the surrounding areas are largely paved over. We probably do not have a huge migratory bird issue on site. And as we move forward and look at that, if need be, we will frit part of the glass in order to deal with it. And I don't know if you know what frit is, basically you put an etched pattern on the glass so that the birds can see it, and therefore you cut down on the problem. So I'm looking at all of the questions that have come in, and so I notice Betsy, you also ask about the street facing media screen. Is there any science about the effects of such screens on traffic safety? A couple of things. I wish Tasman moved along that quickly so that there was a traffic safety problem. But I think we can count on not seeing a huge amount of fast traffic going along Tasman Drive. There is a light rail station in the median, and our screen is not quite on the street level. It is set back and angled. And given that you are at a stoplight and then you progress down Tasman, I don't think we have a situation where somebody's going to be driving fast, slam on the brakes to look at our screen. I just, I don't think that will be an issue, just because of traffic will be either stopped or extremely slow in the area. I'm taking a quick look here, if there's another question. So will there be an auditorium if the cafeteria is doing double duty? Is it being designed for that? So we will have on-site, we have several on-site amenities. So within the buildings themselves, the office buildings, there will be cafeterias in both the ground floor and the second floor of both of the office buildings. Tenants want their cafeteria facilities in the same building. It just makes it easier for employees. Our amenity building, we have a separate 2-story building that will largely be fitness. We'll have some dining, but the dining will be more of a juice bar, grab and go. It won't be the cafeteria, and it will be conference facilities. So when we say auditorium, what we do for tenants, they have to pay for the space. So you do not want to create an auditorium, which is a lot of space that they use once or twice a year. What we do, since we have such great weather here, is we create an outdoor auditorium. So if you look at that green scape where there's the 3 lines, those are seat walls. And what that allows, in the middle of the bottom where you see that brown copper area, that is a stage for, you can have a band, the CEO, whatever. And then the company employees either sit on the grass, or if they want more formal, the company just hires someone to come out and put chairs in addition to the 3 rows of seating there. We find that tech companies do like to do what we call all hands meetings, and they use the outdoor space for that because you can get the entire company there. And then when you're not using for that, it's just great space for sitting outside, eating your lunch, having a meeting on the lawn. You can use cafeterias for meeting space, auditorium, but generally the seating area in a cafeteria is not large enough to handle the entire company. And the way the chairs and tables are set up, they're really not set up so that you can have somebody at the front of the room and speak to everybody. So that's why we do it in the outdoor format. So outdoor bicycle parking. So the bicycle parking, there'll be bicycle parking on site in the landscape areas, by the doors, etc. And then within the garage areas, there will be secured locked bike in both of the garages. Some people, it's important for them to grab their bike and go. Others, they have an expensive bike and they want to store it in a secure spot. In terms of e-bikes, again, it's, actually, we will have the ability to plug in the storage area. The site does comply with the city of Santa Clara's electric vehicle charging, which is 70% of the spaces have to be EV compatible. And in our bike area, we'll look at, we have talked about and done things where we not only have bike storage, but you have things that allow someone to repair their bike. Sort of anything we can do to facilitate the bike riding to the site, we will do. We have at times looked at, not necessary here, but putting bikes on our project and bike at a transit station and allowing employees just to take them back and forth, and you have someone straighten them out at the end of the day, so you have an equal amount. Here, not necessary, we're right on top of the light rail station. So this would be a great spot for a bike, because all you need the bike for is from the station to your house. Anybody else see something that I haven't addressed? I'm happy to have anybody else on my team who wants to weigh in on
Gee,
addressing.
there are a series of questions in the chat,
Okay,
in the chat box,
okay,
separate
so,
from the Q&A.
okay. You know, the chat box for me, okay, is not working right. Like, I can only see like this, there's 3 letters. So, if you can see it better, why don't you
Sure.
bring up?
So the questions are, how many parking spaces will be available for event parking? And will it be paid parking? Are you taking into consideration the wear and tear of event attendees in designing the buildings and landscaping?
So, let's talk about the parking. That whole section of the garage will be available. And I wanna, just rounding, it's about 1,000 spaces. And, the reason it will just be that one section, because events sometimes start before the workday ends, or at least, people want to leave. So we will reserve what I call, the west side garage for our office, and we'll open up the section that has the sign that says parking for Levi's there. We are not planning on charging for it. We feel it's one of the community benefits that we're providing. Our biggest problem is going to be just monitoring so that, it's not a mess for our office employees when they come in the next morning. But we do think, we have the elevator, we've dropped the elevator right down in the area where we put the open space, so it will be very convenient. And that was our intention. And it's, one of our, community benefits. We feel that the spaces are needed. Right now, we do open our parking lot up for parking during games, but we have surface parking and it's not that many spaces. So this will be significantly more than we're offering now. Any other chat questions? Catherine, do you see you want to bring up?
Are you taking into consideration the wear and tear of event attendees in designing the buildings and the landscaping?
Well, I mean, with regard to the garage, we have the ability to shut down the portion that we're not making available to the public, and we will have to post a security guard there. Yeah, I'm sure there will be wear and tear, and we envision cleanup will be necessary. But that's just going to be an evolving situation. We'll see how that goes and what we need to do. We're not high on letting people bring out their barbecue on our top floor and sort of create a liability for us, etc. We want to provide parking, but this may not be the spot for somebody who wants to bring their grill. And we have looked at how we're getting into the garage. You can see the entry is off of the old, that's Bunker Hill. So you should be able to come off of Lawrence and get to it easily, or come down Gap and take a right. We put the elevator close to where the walk to the stadium is. So we think that works. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to have maintenance problems. In our existing project, we have a landscape island, and instead of walking the 5 feet to get to a sidewalk, people just tramp all over the island. That'll just be the cost of doing business. We're just going to have to, I'm sure those pretty renderings, we're gonna be straightening out that landscaping on a regular basis.
And just to add to that too, the two main streets, so we've got Great America and Tasman. We looked at what those pedestrian routes might be, those two being, the main, certainly from the parking structure, but also those that are just, in the vicinity and walking past the project along the street. And so we've, doubled the capacity of the sidewalk areas. You'll notice that there's, two walking zones and then kind of a low grassy zone between them. And really that was thoughtful and with the attempt of allowing, a greater group of people that are walking through those pedestrian corridors, if you will.
Yeah, if you
And-
look at
and-
this picture, Steve's right. We have the city sidewalk, which is extra wide already. Then we created a grassy area and we have another sidewalk. We did that on both Tasman and Great America. Will people walk all over that grass? Yeah. I have to say, when I've gone to a football game, you don't have to worry about the sidewalk on Old Ironside and Bunker Hill because they just walk down the middle of the street. The streets are both packed. So knowing that you can't really walk on Tasman or Great America Parkway because there is active traffic on those streets during, before a game, we have just increased the walking area to get to the stadium on both those sides. That's why you're seeing sort of a dual sidewalk. We don't want to have it be all concrete because, how many football games are there? It's not as, there's a limited number of days. And that's why we're showing grass in between. If it takes a beating, it's easy to repair. Any other questions or chats?
One just came through. Is there development on the northeast side of the cross streets of Tasman and Great America Parkway? And we're on the northwest corner.
So is there development where?
A question came through asking which corner of the Tasman and Great America Parkway intersection our site is located on.
Oh, okay, so you can see the screen sort of gives you a good idea. So just to anchor it, and I mean, we are right across the street from the VTA light rail station. It is in the median between our site and the one that's south of us on Tasman. So it is a key block in the city. Great America Parkway, the city can weigh in, but they see this as a major gateway to North Santa Clara, and it certainly is. And so we really wanted to activate Tasman, create a good look of landscaping and walkability along both Tasman and Great America. And earlier, as you can see where our project is versus the stoplight at Great America and Tasman, it's going to be really hard to get up really have a car that's going so fast that the screen will be a distraction. I don't think the traffic moves along that quickly along there. And so I don't think that will be an issue between the traffic and then you have the light rail station too. Any other questions that we missed or anybody wants to bring up? So we have spent a fair amount of time looking at our design. One of the things we've done is created a floor plate where there's a bridge between the two buildings because I don't know how many of you are familiar, but the NVIDIA type of campus where you have 100,000 square feet on one floor is where technology companies want to go. So these floors are pretty much with the bridge, they're 50,000 square feet and in the buildings. And so the floor plate is huge. And our intention is to create that same environment where there's a huge horizontal interaction between the two buildings. Most of our outdoor space is centered in our interior courtyard, where we can cut back on the wind, we can cut back on the traffic noise, and we can create sort of a friendly, welcoming environment on the inside. Got anything else? Catherine, you want to weigh in? Steve, you want to weigh in on anything? We're happy to have, Amber, Misha, if you want to comment, we're happy to have you join in.
I believe there's one more question in the chat from Edward. And then I think if somebody wanted to speak, we can unmute them and so they can talk if they wanted to ask their question that way.
I'll address Ed Ford's question. There's no credit union on our property currently. At least not that I'm aware of. I don't specifically manage the asset, but I'm pretty familiar with all of our tenants, and there's no credit union.
So again, if you wanted to ask your question and want to talk, just raise your hand. Just press raise hand and we can unmute you so that you can ask your question. So I do see one raised hand.
Yeah, this is Brian. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's been like 4 or 5 groundbreaking delays for that related project. And I know that because of COVID, that's changed things quite a bit. And there's going to be a Super Bowl and international soccer matches in about 3 years at the Levi Stadium. And I was kind of hoping that we'd have at least a phase 1 and 2 of the related project completed by then, so that could really benefit our city of Santa Clara. And I know that we've been having problems financially with our city. And I know that you had mentioned that I guess it might be another 2 or 3 years before the groundbreaking starts on that related project. That would be pretty sad, seeing that we are going to be having a lot of activity next 3 years with the Super Bowl and soccer matches. But I know you guys don't control the related project. That would be them that would control that as far as the groundbreaking goes. And I know I guess there's be a lot more studies done because of what COVID did to our economy and how it destroyed our economy. Yeah, I just want to appreciate. Hopefully, we'll get your project going too, because that would also benefit our city. Not as major as the related project, but at least it'll somewhat benefit our city. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Well, Edward, we feel the same way. We need related to go forward. We related designed and got their project approved years before we started. So we looked at how can our project relate to but not compete with theirs? How can we be complementary? How can we provide something that they're not providing? And how can we design something so that they get the Santana Row effect and don't compete with it? And so we are thrilled to see them move forward. My 2 or 3 years, that is just off the top of my head. I made a few phone calls a week or two ago to see when they were going to start on theirs. and they don't have a firm date. My 2 to 3 years is my best guess. I doubt if the city has any more current information, but if you do, please raise your hand.
Yeah, so for related project, they are actively working on their building permits and working with the city and other regulatory agencies. And we expect the construction to start sometime in 2024. So
Right.
so that is what we know about it. That is the current. Yeah.
Yeah, because normally you would think as developers we would be competitive, but if they create 100,000 square foot food court, restaurants, hotels, we market that. We go and say, you put your headquarters here, you can walk for 5 minutes, and you have all of these amenities. And then we, whisper, and you don't get caught up in their parking lot and their parking garage. So we're very symbiotic with them. We need them to move forward.
We do have another raised hand, Council Member Watanabe.
Thank you, Namisha. Yes, this is Kathy Watanabe, and thank you for the presentation this evening. I was looking forward to it. And because this is my district, and we call this the district where basically everything is happening these days. I know there's been a lot of talk and questions about the related project, and thank you, Namisha, for that update. Unfortunately, the related project came at the effect of a couple of lawsuits, which I'm happy to say that the city of Santa Clara won, but also the pandemic as well. And so, I was actually on the council when we approved the project in 2016. And so we would love to see that project move forward, especially because it could just add so many needed amenities to the community, as well as the residential community, as well as the business community. So I definitely understand the desire for that project to go forward. Plus, Jane, I think you mentioned about the project being called the downtown, the new downtown, but we actually call it the uptown.
Yes, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, there's a specific place for the downtown, and that's where the downtown is going to stay. And so the uptown Santa Clara is where we expect, the revenues to be derived to help, put tax monies and revenues back into the city. That will also help benefit the downtown and get those that project going down there as well. I guess my one question is, what is the timeline? What is the time frame for this project? Because there's just so much going on in this area. So I'm just curious to know what the time frame is.
So currently, we are looking at coming to the city council for approval at year end.
Okay.
The CEQA study has not been issued to us and has not been circulated, but I understand that once the traffic review is done, it should be circulated. So that's our timing. And, I'm sure you are aware that right now the office market is not as robust, especially on the financing side, as it was several years ago. So we don't, we think a year-end approval date will work with what we're looking at, because throughout the year we anticipate the tech companies will move back into the office. And even though there are stories about vacancy here and there, there's going to be a flight to quality where companies are going to want to move into newer buildings that have the outdoor space, that have the amenities. And so we think that will be attractive. We have talked to 2 different tenants, but that is a bit of a long way off, but we foresee that this would come up within the year. It's also difficult for us to really seriously engage unless we can give a timeline. So I have been working with staff to sort of push to understand what our timeline is, so I can go to a tenant and say, here's when we'll be approved, here's where we can deliver the building.
Okay. Okay.
And
Great.
again, having related move forward is critical for us. We'd love to see that retail go forward. And I don't mean to pick on them, as everybody knows, the retail market has, taken a beating over the last 5 years. When they envisioned this project, retail was a different industry than it is now. And so they're scrambling to, figure out how to make it all work.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, I think they did have to do a 180 on the initial plan, and with what they have come forward with in terms of redesigning their original plan it's phenomenal. So all the more reason why we'd love to see it go forward. I just want to add that there was question about the retail component, if you would have some retail component. And so I totally understand your question, but I just wanted to add that the retail has, there will be that component as part of the Kylie Mission Point project. And people have expressed, because of what's anticipated with both with Kylie and the Patrick Henry specific plan, with the amount of housing that's anticipated, that there would be a need for a supermarket. And I have talked to the Kylie folks about that, and suggested the Trader Joe's as an option if they could look into it, because I know that people would greatly appreciate having a Trader Joe's in our neighborhood. And with the amount of housing that's anticipated in that area, it could definitely qualify it as a good place for a Trader Joe's. Plus, when you look at the residents in the north side, not just Santa Clara, but San Jose and the Sunnyvale neighborhoods, it would be greatly appreciated. So I throw that out there as much as I can to let folks know that, we want a Trader Joe's. Residents want a Trader Joe's.
No, I think it's a great idea. And so, but it really should be as close as possible to the residential. So on the related site where they have residential, which is also close to Tasmanese, or Kylie on the south side of their site where they have residential, and it can also serve the Patrick Henry residential. So you're walking to the Trader Joe's.
Right.
Our site, we don't have residential, so to put a Trader Joe's right in the middle of our site or on our site is really not very functional from a walkability standpoint to the residential.
Yep, I agree. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you for the presentation again.
Thanks for listening. We always appreciate your feedback. I mean, our whole approach here, as you know, we originally looked at putting residential on our site, and the city, whether planning, et cetera, came and said, no, we'd really prefer that you didn't, because there's enough residential going in on the other sites in Tasmanese. So we really looked and said, how can we provide office that is different than what Kylie is providing and what Related is providing? Because what we don't want to do is we're all just beating each other over the head, and then we have unsuccessful office projects on all sites. We have unsuccessful retail because we spread it all over the place and there's too much of it. So we tried to look and say, what can we create that's different? How can we support the other projects? Like, we're happy to see Kylie come in and do residential. Great. That's where our employees can be. If they have what I would call retail serving their residentials, what they should have, and let Related be the Santana Row type of Bigfoot, and they just have enough retail to support their residential and not a whole lot more. Anybody else want to make any other comments? We, on anything, we're happy to, take any feedback you may have. Okay, if nothing else, do we want to call it an evening? And, I think, on the city's website, either my name or Catherine's name or email is on there. So, if for some reason anybody listening thinks of something tomorrow, feel free to email us or call us. We're happy to talk to you.
Yes, and the recording of this meeting and the meeting minutes will be posted on the project page on the city's website, as Catherine mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. So that will be there too.
Well, thank you all for spending the time to take a look at our project. We really think it's going to be a terrific spot for that 28-year-old working for that high-tech company. My son would love to work here. So that's what we're trying to create, that environment. RMW did a beautiful job on this. And so we really appreciate their input. And, there's a lot of work that goes in on doing the CEQA studies. We thank Amber and her crew. Heaven knows there's been a lot of work going back and forth, and we've had several city planners. So we've kept everybody busy, and we really appreciate you sticking with us and seeing us over the finish line.
And excited to be a part of it.
Well, if that's it, I'll sign off and wish everybody a good evening. And as I said, we're happy to have you follow up later if you think of something. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Jane,
Good
and
night,
thank you for
thank
the
you.
presentation. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.